Hello and welcome to the latest episode of our series of short documentary videos about the collections of the Iron Library. And the library, though metallic in name, hasn't been entirely so in nature for quite some time. And through following the history of science and technology, and in particular the history of material sciences, and also through following the interests of the industrial concern Georg Fischer Limited, which founded the Iron Library back in 1948. The library has managed to gather a collection of works on and from the history of plastics, which are the subject of today's video. So, in the early 19th century, chemists such as Henri Braconnot began examining the properties of organic polymers and synthesizing substances such as nitrocellulose for the first time. And polymers began to develop applications in industry. Natural latexes from the rubber tree, for instance, were used to produce waterproof clothing. The insulating quality then became highly prized, in particular after the advent of electrical telegraphy, the cables of which, particularly the deep sea cables, required rubber coating. And so there began a particularly exploitative boom in the Amazon rubber industry. These demands couldn't be met, however, and so work intensified on the production of truly synthetic polymers. And the first of these to be really created was Bakelite, which was first synthesized in 1907 by Leo Baekeland. And it's he who is credited with inventing the term plastics and introducing it to the English language. Which takes us to this, today's particular focus from our collections. It is the journal Kunststoffe. First published in 1911, it's the oldest continually published journal on the subject of plastics in the world, let alone in the German language. And in the German language, plastics are known as Kunststoffe today, specifically because of this publication following its title. Such was the influence that it was to accrue. And the community of contributors had connections to both established and burgeoning industries. And so alongside articles on the chemistry and modification of established polymers and newer polymers came arrays of laboratory equipment, reports on new sources of raw materials, and more efficient means of industrial production from all over the world, as well as descriptions of applications to products in new industries. So the first article in the first issue of Kunststoff in 1911 detailed, for instance, the production of artificial leather. And in the following issue, one of the companies that produced artificial leather, here it's Kleinwerfer Sonne in Krefeld, issued samples which were sent out to all subscribers. And other companies did the same. In the case here, it is Vereinigte Glanzstoffefabriken in Eberfeld, and they sent this rather wonderful collection of samples of artificial silk, the colours of which are very electric and not something you would necessarily associate with the year 1912. Importantly, for a field that was incredibly competitive, much space is given for the declaration of new patents, which is an invaluable chronological resource for historians of polymer technology. The uses for historians, however, go far beyond the history of polymers. So, for example, an issue from 1911 contains a documentary article about the sourcing and procuring of gutta percha in the then Dutch East Indies. So with its documentary photography and with details of world trade and raw materials, it's a very valuable resource, both for economic history, also for colonial history, and for social history too. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this interesting and informative, and hope you look forward to the next video. Thank you.